I started my military career at 17 as a paratrooper with the 11th Airborne, the 82nd Airborne. I came home for a year, didn't like what I saw in civilian life. 1958, I was back in the Army. I got commissioned. Anyway, I had a buddy in Special Forces call me. Would I meet him? And would I be interested in a job in Southeast Asia? I said, who with? He says, I'll tell you when I see you. So we came to New York, we met, and he had to leave for Washington, D.C., and then go to Taipei, Formosa. That's the route we took. Same with me. So I sort of knew I was working for the agency, but we were always told to refer to it as the company or the customer. So I got to Taipei, Formosa for a briefing. They told me, I had a lot of credentials, especially I was a professional parachute instructor. I knew a lot about aerial delivery from the military, and Special Forces qualified. So this is 1961. They sent me to Vientiane, Laos. That was what's called your base station. I had other base stations, Da Nang, South Vietnam. But from 1961 to 1964, I was employed by what was called Air America. I had different titles. The first title they gave me was a PDO, a Parachute Delivery Officer. Later on, that would be changed to AFS, Air Freight Specialist. But we were known as kickers because our first cover, we were kicking bundles of rice out of airplanes. Like I used to say, we did more than kick bundles. Prior to me getting there, the agency, the company, they hired smoke jumpers. Even, I tried to do a little history on it, even back to Yen Ben Phu, 1954. It wasn't called the company then, but it was Civil Air Transport, people from the Flying Tigers, which I would later work with. Somewhere along the line, the agency felt that this new breed of kickers, Green Berets, had the air qualifications plus the jungle capabilities and the ability to organize local people. So that's when they started hiring Green Berets. That's how I got into the act. Prior to training, they used to send everybody to Camp Hale in the Rocky Mountains. I'm not familiar. And later on, I would be involved in the Tibet operation. So that's how I learned about Camp Hale. Okay. I was recruited, Special Forces, like I say. For 3 months, they put me into Southeast Asia, actually kicking rice bundles, delivering rice and food for an organization called USAID, United States Aid for International Development. What they were doing was sizing me up, waiting for my civilian top secret clearance. I already had a military top secret clearance, so it wasn't that big a deal for civilian top secret clearance. So I kicked rice for 3 months, and finally they took me to Taipei, Formosa, which was the company headquarters, and they told me, here's the real deal. And they told me the different things I would be getting involved in. I would stay in Vientiane, Laos, with different changes of stations. Now, I know the pilots were more flexible than us because they wound up in Japan, the Philippines, Bangkok, Thailand. Again, we were always told we're working for a company and we have customers. It wasn't until later on we realized we were the customer, we were the company. Some of the highlights, I was put to a place in Thailand called Tak Lee Airport. It was only known at that time Boys Town because there were no girls there. It was a secure base, which we did a lot of our top secret stuff out of. The security for the base was done by the Navy Seabees. I worked with the Thai Border Police, which were airborne, and also the Royal Thai Army paratroops. We were never told to talk about it. We flew in and out. That's where we changed tail numbers. It's another story. And if you ever mention Top Lee, you could say among each other, we're going to Boys Town. Another reason you would be dismissed, sent back to the States, if you talked to a reporter, which was no problem. Some of the things of note, I was one of the first guys to start search and rescue. In 1962, the first CIA plane, Air America plane, was shot down. Civilian pilot by the name of Captain Cheney was killed in action. What happened, we had a term. Anything we did was known as rice, but if anything was against the Geneva Accords or military infiltrating special forces teams or weapons or ammunition, it was known as hard rice. I got a call to go to Vientiane Airport, get rescue equipment. First plane was shot down, a C-46. Myself and another Special Forces member found the wreck the next day. The pilot and the co-pilot were in the wreck. I didn't see the other parachutes. There was a training crew on board of a new Smoky, we called them, Eugene de Bruin. They were gone. At the same time, racing to the scene was a white helicopter called the Ceasefire Commission. We weren't allowed to bring weapons. We had sort of referees in the secret war. One was a Pole, one was a Canadian, and one was an Indian. So we had to hide our weapons. Anyway, I was crawling into the wreck, which happened to be caribou meat. I crawled through the decaying caribou meat, and I saw a left shoulder and a right shoulder in the cockpit in a gray uniform. By then, Air America started wearing gray uniforms. We were overcome by gunfire. I don't know who they were shooting at us. But luckily, in my experience, I had the helicopter stay a mile, stay downwind. And luckily, that got my butt out of there and my team that went in. We were very upset that we couldn't go get weapons. We heard from the nearby village that this double training crew, 2 American kickers and 2 Thai border police kickers, were being carried away. I went to a local Royal Army base, secured weapons, and we were going after it. When the embassy found out about it, they had a fit. It wasn't enough to fire me, but anyway, it became history. Captain Cheney's returns were found last year. One of the Thai kickers escaped, and he told this horror story. 3 or 4 years in prison. They believed the Americans were tortured and killed. That was shown in a movie. Anyway, after 4 years and 3 plane crashes and a lot of close calls, I felt I wasn't really suicidal, so I better get out of there. So I terminated my employment with Air America. Never told anyone, even my closest friends, but I was also involved in secret operations in Tibet and Cambodia. Cambodia, we had to rescue people after Cambodia broke ties with the United States. We evaded a lot of Chinese there, and then of course a highlight in my career. They sent me to Okinawa. I got all kinds of high altitude training and Morse code training. I didn't know what it was all about. Finally, they were infiltrating teams into Tibet. I was at an air base, Kadena Air Base. We were told we're stripped gray Air Force coveralls, flight suits with a blank baseball cap. I happened to be going down the tarmac one day with another Special Forces kicker type, and there was a whole airplane load of 3 berets ready for combat, rucksacks, heavy weapons, sitting on the tarmac. I knew they were heading towards Laos. They didn't know who I was. I was going to a C-130 to get some high altitude training, and someone yelled, "Hey, Kilcullen, Kilcullen." I said, "Oh." My buddy says, "Uh-oh, you're in trouble." Special Forces guy got up. "Kilcullen, what are you doing in the Air Force? You traitor? Why'd you leave Special Forces?" I said, I got tired of the bull crap, and blah, blah, blah. So I talked my way out of that pretty good. So that's about it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Got one question here.
Hi, Dave.
Did the CIA ever follow up and talk to you now and then, and like they have for the other guys?
You mean debriefing?
No. Did they ever call you and just check on you and say hi or what's going on?
Not really people that claim to be with the company. Other people, though, claim to be authors. But I had a feeling, for example, a guy named Sullivan years ago, I happened to be in a hospital suffering from a stroke. And I was recovering okay, and he called. He said he talked to my superiors. I said, "Look, you're just a voice on the radio." I said, "Telephone." He said, "Yes, but if I told you who your contacts were in Tibet, who your boss was, would you believe me?" I said, "Yes, I'll believe you." He said, "Besides, the agency cleared me to do this story about the company's operations in Tibet, which you were involved." Somehow I didn't like the guy's attitude, and I was sick anyway, and I said, "Look, I'm writing my own book." "Oh, if that's the case, okay, thank you very much," and he hung up on me. I hear this guy did write a book, and all the kickers that worked the operation were in there but me, but I missed my 5 minutes of fame.
What was the operation in Tibet?
Tibet, the earlier part of it was sort of bring back the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama, I don't know who got him to India, but he was already gone when I got there. But we were just sending Special Forces teams in to nudge the Chinese, because the Chinese wanted to neutralize the Tibetan society or culture, whatever. You know, I have to laugh once in a while when I see all these movie stars, "Save Tibet, save Tibet." I like to say, "Yeah, what'd you do to save Tibet? Here's what I did," but I just let it go.
So a team went into Tibet after the Dalai Lama was out, just to,
oh, yes.
to do what though?
To raise havoc, to do the Special Forces missions.
Okay.
Resupply, train, and just organize resistance against the government at the time. Now it's Chinese.
How'd you get in there? Parachute?
No. We air landed. Heavy stuff, we dropped in. And then we landed on these, like, frozen tundra type things. But that was late at night. I remember I had no idea. You know, also, now I realize why they gave me all the oxygen training and high altitude stuff. A note in the training, even though I was an experienced parachutist, I had to train in Okinawa by jettisoning a load from a C-130 aircraft. But know the training is different in oxygen systems. One, the aircraft has their own. One is called a 20-minute walk-around bottle, and another one is a bailout bottle. When you're at 30-something thousand feet, they popped this valve and it started snowing in the aircraft. I said, wait, why'd they tell me this? It started snowing. And then I had to go open up the ramp and cut a bundle loose. What that means is you have to jettison. If they're on pallets or if they're on parachutes, you got to cut the static lines. So the load goes in somewhere in the mountains. But I happen to look out. I'm on the ramp of the plane, ice cold. Okinawa, I believe, is 30 miles long, a couple of miles wide. I remember looking down at the lights, and I said, if I fall out of this plane, there's no way I'm going to hit Okinawa from this altitude. But it's something that stayed in my mind.